So first of all, a bit of an apology. We're having a few issues in this room, so slides won't be part of the live stream for the moment. Jonathan has kindly offered to make the slides available after the fact, so they'll be available for download along with the video. Please can I introduce Jonathan, or Noodles as he's otherwise known, who's going to talk a bit more about the keyring maintenance team. Jonathan.
This is the second talk you'll go to in DebConf. The first being the actual original key signing where we read out lots of numbers. I debated about whether or not we needed to have this talk. I'm hoping we're getting to the point that it's not particularly useful to have this talk, but I think it's useful to sort of come and stand in front of people and allow an opportunity for questions. Historically, and we're talking 10 plus years ago, keyring-maint was a non-functional bit of Debian. It was slow, it was blocking keys getting into the keyring, which prevented people becoming DDs. There was if you go back and look at the history of Debian maintainers was a kludge originally to work around the fact that various core teams in Debian were not operating efficiently enough to get people into Debian. One of the teams that was a problem there was keyring-maint. There is still some project historical memory of the fact that, oh, keyring-maint is slow, and we sort of started giving these talks as a way of going, no, we're not, we're an active team now, and we work properly, and this is all fine, and we kind of just kept doing them. So open to questions at the end. That's the historical reason for why keyring-maint get up and say something. There are three of us. For a long time it was just me, and that was not a good situation, and someone came up to me and said, you should make sure there's some bus factor and that you're not the only person, and we added Gunnar Wolf, who is based in sort of Central and South America depending on the time of the year. And that was all good, and Gunnar and I did a bunch of good work together about improving our processes and automating a bunch of things, and I'll get into what we do in a minute. And then a few years back, we sort of realized that even two of us wasn't really enough to do. So we got John Sullivan, who's based, I don't know where John's based, he's in the USA somewhere, but I'm not quite sure where. We also have the services of Daniel Kahn-Gilmore, who is an excellent individual. If you've never met him or come across him, he knows lots of things. He actually understands all of the crypto behind PGP and stuff, is involved in the Open PGP IETF group. We go and ask him questions whenever we've got sort of things we want to discuss with an expert. The three of us are mostly keyring admins rather than cryptographic experts. We have opinions, we understand we're not the experts. This has worked very nicely because one of the main things we do, we manage keyrings. Keyrings are collections of keys. We manage three main keyrings, the Debian maintainers keyrings, so that's people who are limited in what they can upload based on various ACLs. We manage Debian developers uploading keyrings, so that's full-blown people who can upload anything, can vote, are able to upload, as I say, upload packages, and then the non-uploading keyring. So that's for people who are full members of the project in terms of being able to vote and be involved in all that stuff, but have no need to upload packages and principle of least privileges. If you don't need to upload a package, let's not give you the ability to upload packages. Really neat thing that the FTP masters did is, if you are a Debian developer with a non-uploading key, you can still have access granted to individual packages that you need to upload. So effectively, DM and Debian developers non-uploading both have the same path to being able to put packages into the archive. And we do have a few people who have had that enabled for them where they can upload, sort of very targeted. I think someone from the video team, there's some video team package. There's some particular instance where someone is uploading a package where they are the authoritative matter for what should be in the package, but not generally a packaging expert, and they have that access. So there's a nice overlap there, but we don't make decisions about when to add keys, right? So keys being added to the keyring come from front desk or the Debian account managers. They are the people who make the decision about whether or not someone should be within Debian, and we as keyring maintainers accept what they tell us on that front. If they tell us to add your key, we will not make any judgment about whether you should be in Debian or not. We might make some judgments about the key they give us, right? We have some criteria we apply to keys in terms of key length, in terms of sort of UIDs on the key, that sort of thing. But from the point of view of who makes the decision about the key being added, it's largely front desk and DAM, and we've made them aware of what our technical requirements are, and they're very good. The new members website does a bunch of the checks and sorts all that out. We also do replacement requests. So if you want to change your key, if you lose your key, if there's some reason why you need to move to a new key, maybe you're moving to one backed by a hardware token or something like that, then that can come directly from the developer in question or the member in question who has the key, can come directly to us, and there's some links at the end about exactly how you do all of that. We have a whole bunch of scripts to aid curation of the keys, right? There is a whole bunch of this work which is automated away by scripts. But, and this is the sort of crucial thing that the problem is, we do not want to completely automate this process. We have found bugs in GNU-PG over time that have resulted in sort of keys continuously growing in size or various other things. We have found issues in our own scripts where they maybe didn't check correctly enough and would have let things in that shouldn't have been in, or vice versa. We're too strict and we're blocking things that should get in. We have had issues with people adding strange UIDs to their keys in terms of different names or email addresses, and it's like, right, we shouldn't let that in. There is a bunch of this stuff because of what we use the keyring for. That means that we can't automate this process away. There will always be a step that is a manual eyeball. And unfortunately, that manual eyeball check takes a little bit of time. So we don't do it every day or every week. What we've aimed for over time is we've got to a cadence of once a month. So we do a keyring update roughly around the 24th of the month. And that is purely because I quite like making Debian developers for Christmas. That is entirely why it came around, in that I used to spend Christmas Eve doing it, and then DSA would be very quick about it. But roughly, we've settled on sort of that 24th, sometimes a little bit earlier, sometimes a little bit later, but once a month. And having 3 of us in the team has really helped with that. So from the point of view of building a regular cadence, we take it 1 month in turn, so it's a 3-month cycle, which means everyone in the team has done it recently enough that we remember what we have to do. It means if any of us isn't available, we could do a swap, but we sort of know what our time requirements are. And as a team, that's worked really well in terms of getting to a sort of smooth pattern of we can do regular keyring updates. Sometimes you need to push one faster. Sometimes someone has lost their key in a way that means that they're not sure who might have access to it, and we have to quickly get that out of the keyring. But in general, we aim for once a month, and we have been pretty good about that. I think I looked at it, and we've hit once a month at least for something like the last 8 years. So I think that's fairly efficient. Yeah. Okay. Did I didn't answer that one. Recent things. Not so recent because we talked about some of these at the last DebConf. We have for a long time made use of key signatures from other Debian project members as the way of allowing new keys in, right? We have this problem that we are a vastly distributed organization. We have developers all over the world. I'm sure folk in India are well aware with the issues about getting connected to the rest of the tree compared to sort of people who can easily travel in Europe and meet other DDs. I know that other bits of Asia have had similar problems. We have stuck fairly hard and fast to the, hey, actually, no, we want someone to have signed your key so we can build a trust path to it. COVID meant we had to think about that differently in a way of like, well, no one can sign anybody's keys, and we probably shouldn't have taken as long to get to that point. But it's a hard problem, and I still don't think we have a good answer. So we've moved to key endorsements, because really what we care about as a project, what Debian cares about as a project is the person signing things with this key who has control of this key actually the individual we think they are? And that's really not predicated on a piece of government ID. That's mostly about continuous use of identity and trust of that identity. Is Andy the person I think is on the video team who should be able to do video team stuff and sign mails about that? Am I the person who actually has control of a key and access to the keyring server and able to actually upload new keyrings to Debian? You don't really care what my name is. You care that I am consistently me and I'm consistently a good actor, and a piece of government ID doesn't help you with that, right? Just because a government will issue me a passport doesn't mean I'm a good person. So we've moved to endorsements. Endorsements are easier in some ways and harder in other ways, right? They don't require that physical meeting with a person to say, hey, yes, I've met you, seen your fingerprint and signed it, but they do require consistent behavior over time, right? So it's actually quite good if you're a Debian contributor, if you're not yet, and this is more for people who aren't here, right? Because if you're here, you can get cross signatures and it's a bit easier. But if you're watching this, if you take part in Debian, it is a good idea to generate a key near the start and to sign your emails with that key and to sign your Git commits with that key and generally establish a pattern of use of a key. Even if you can't get signatures, if someone can look back and go, when you get to the DM stage and go, well, I have interacted with Alice for the last year and she has signed every mail with that key and she has signed her uploads to Git with that key, and I am happy that the individual that I am sponsoring to be a Debian maintainer has consistently used a key and is consistently that identity. That's quite a strong assertion, but you need to start using it fairly near the start. So that would be my advice. The only problem we have with endorsements, and I don't have a good answer for this that doesn't take an equal length of time to fix, is if you need a key replacement, how do I help someone who has an endorsed key replace their key when they have no signatures and I have no way of associating the old key with the new key, or that they are the same person and it's not someone coming along with a bad actor coming along and trying to push someone out of the project. So at the moment we have things where you can sign it with the old key, that sort of helps, but if you're telling me that your old key is compromised and that's why you're replacing it, then we have to get another Debian developer to sign that upload for you, or sign that key replacement request for you. And I don't have a good answer for endorsements. I know that's a problem for people who have their key in through endorsements, how you do the replacement, but we're thinking about it as the best I can offer you at the minute. I want a better solution than you generate a new key, you can't use it for a year, and you have to consistently sign emails with it for a year, and then we can treat it as a new endorsement. This is hard with a geographically dispersed organization who don't meet up often enough. It's easy enough for folk who manage to make it to DebConf. It's not so easy for those people who can't make it here for whatever reason, and we need to come up. The other one we've talked about in the past quite a few times is elliptic curve keys. Elliptic curve keys are not even the new hotness in crypto anymore. That's post-Compton, which I'll talk about in a minute. But they are smaller keys with equivalent, depending on who you talk to, equivalent security to the likes of RSA keys. They need GPG version 2 to support. I can't remember if that, I think that might have come in Buster. It was certainly well established by Bullseye. There is no problem in Bookworm. We were uncertain as to how much of the Debian infrastructure supported elliptic curve keys. Some systems hadn't been updated to the recent enough version of GPG. Some systems were still explicitly using GPG1. I think there are more than 24. There's like over 30 people these days with elliptic curve keys in Debian. They are the sort of people who will complain if they hit problems. Everything seems to work, right? Uploads work, voting works, talking to LDAP works. If you have an elliptic curve key in Debian and it does not work for some piece of Debian infrastructure, it is a bug and you should file one. We are not the people to fix it because all of our stuff is fine, but by all means let us know, because we will apply some pressure to whatever service isn't supporting them, because we do have enough of them in. I'm about to switch my primary Debian key to be elliptic curve, so I will file bugs if I find things, but generally they work. Key server network, some of you may have hit this whenever uploading keys to the key signing party. We built there have been multiple times of trying to produce a key server network, right? The idea of the key server network is you should be able to upload your key to any server in the key server network, and it doesn't matter what key server the other person is using, but they should be able to download your key from that, where you want it to be, you know, geographically distributed on lots of servers. We originally did this via email, which was about as reliable as you can expect. Key servers used to email each other keys. There were a bunch of people who came along, I don't even know how long ago it was, certainly I think 10, 15 plus years ago, and produced SKS, which is a synchronizing key server, which did this wonderful thing where key servers would learn about what keys were missing on the other key servers and gradually sync them over time using a thing called a gossip protocol, which was largely based on polynomial mathematics, and I half understood it one day and forgot it. The problem with that was the key server didn't do any validation of the keys you uploaded. So a bunch of people were like, we'll just upload a whole bunch of crap in our keys, and then it gets distributed all the way around the world. And it was only a matter of time before someone did to the key server network what they did to Usenet and started uploading sort of random pirated binaries that then got distributed around the world. So I think at one point someone had attacked DKG's key and made it 136 megabytes of key. So you would go and download one person's key, and all of a sudden, you know, the key server would get absolutely flooded sending out. I mean, keys are normally like kilobytes of data, not megabytes data, and certainly not hundreds of megabytes of data. So various things have been done about this. There's a few folk who have introduced verifying key servers, so they actually check the signatures on them and therefore throw away anything that's actually random data. I've got one that looks like that. The keys.openpgp.org key server, if I remember correctly, only cares about your own user IDs and your own signatures, so it throws away any third-party signatures on the key, is purely a way of getting access to that primary key, but then doesn't do anything for what we care about, which is the web of trust, because it's thrown all of those away. So there's no good answer to that one. You can find a key server that you like and use it, which is kind of what we as a project do. We are using the keyserver.ubuntu.com key server as our default. I mean, they're close people. I'm not actually sure who runs it, but I'm sure we could find the person who runs it if we really wanted to. It takes all the signatures. So nm.debian.org pulls keys from that. We run the key server that Debian runs internally only has keys from the Debian project, right? So you can happily upload updates to your own key to keyserver.debian.or keyring.debian.org. It will take signatures that are from other keys within the Debian keyring, but we are a self-verified set rather than taking any third-party signatures outside that. So new project members obviously have a chicken and egg problem about they need to get their key to us somehow so that we can then decide to add them and put them on that key server. They can't just upload them to start with. This is an ongoing problem. Again, it's one of these things that people are looking at. There has been some discussion about should we run our own key server, one that will generally accept keys, and then we get all of the problems of running a general key server about how do we accept an unsigned key and then trust that. Someone actually made a reasonable suggestion to the Debian front desk a few weeks back, which I think we should maybe look into, which is Salsa apparently lets you upload a GPG key. So given that people need Salsa to be able to even log into the new member system, because that's one of the authentication mechanisms, we could enhance that so that we go and pull the key from there, right? So the bootstrap problem for folk wanting to be involved in Debian would be, hey, you can just put your key in your Salsa account via the normal way, and then we can pull it from that. And I think that's something we should definitely look into as an option. There is a refresh of the OpenPGP RFC going on. It's called the Crypto Refresh. It's been going on for a long time. This is merely for interest. There's nothing really in here that should have any effect on Debian. They're doing a few tweaks to the underlying bits and pieces. It's not going to require us to make any major changes in our infrastructure. Most of that should be on the keyring side if we want to take advantages of it. It might open up some new key formats in the future, but it's all variations on what we've currently got. So this is good from a PGP ecosystem point of view. It's not really that important from us as a project point of view. What gets a bit more interesting is post-quantum cryptography, right? So the current keys we use will all be broken as soon as Andy builds our quantum supercomputer. This is elliptic curve, RSA, DSA. there is a bunch of work on standardizing some post-quantum cryptography standards which can be executed on conventional computers but are resistant to the factorization attacks that come into play with quantum computing. I am not a cryptographer. Do not ask me for any more details than that. That is what I got. However, there is a draft of how to incorporate this into PGP already, right? So someone's already looking at, I think it's the Kyber algorithm and incorporating that into OpenPGP. I don't know that, I've not seen a software implementation of this, so that's where we're at. It's a draft, or an internet draft with the IETF. It's a long way off being in Debian. Like, it's not going to be in Trixie. It'll take us a long time to take advantage of it, but it is something we need to think about, right? At some point, we're going to want to move to these. We're going to have to do another key rule, right? We've done two key rules that I can remember in my time. We turned off all of the old PGP v3 keys, which were ancient keys that had a bunch of cryptographic problems with the way in which the key material was stored. And ironically, were mostly RSA keys, and then everyone had moved to DSA keys, which was the default for GPG for a long time, and then they were too short because they were 1024-bit DSA keys with SHA-1, and SHA-1 got broken, and then we had to roll to what we're pushing now, which is 4K RSA or ECC equivalent. So this is something that will actually impact the project in a big way once someone actually gets a quantum computer with lots of bits on it. We're kind of at the mercy of what OpenPGP do. I was going to say maybe we'll have moved to something entirely different by that point in time, but I suspect we'll still be using PGP with post-quantum stuff. The keys get much bigger is one of the things about it. So ECC has moved us to much smaller keys for equivalent security. Post-quantum moves to a lot more key data. Are they slower significantly at the moment, or will they be accelerated by? Andy's shaking his hand and going, well, maybe. These are resources, right? We have a website. It may not have everything on it, but we try and put things on it. If it doesn't have information you want about keyring stuff, tell us. You can send your key to keyring.debian.org if it's already in there. If you want to add a new user ID to your key, if you want to add new signatures to your key, if you want to update expiry dates, there is no need to contact us. Send your key to the key server. It will be picked up automatically by us whenever we do that monthly sync, right? So a lot of what we do in the monthly sync is pulling in updated keys people have sent without even talking to us. And that just happens. If you do actually need to ask us to do a key replacement or something else involving your key that isn't just an update like that, you send an email to keyring@rt.debian.org. The subject needs to have Debian RT in it. Please also put something descriptive in the subject, because it's important to me that I can look at my inbox and go, this key is lost and needs to be replaced, or this is a query that I can wait and answer whenever I got a bit more free time. And ideally sign it. RT, request tracker, for those that you don't know it, does this thing where it mangles email, right? If you send a PGP MIME email which splits it in, it will take your plain text portion of your email and it will re-encode it in UTF-8, which will then mean that it will not verify as a PGP message. So you need to send it inline signed, which, I'm sorry. We do a bunch of things when we get mails that don't verify. We have a bunch of heuristics we try and apply to try and get them just to verify properly before we bug people. But inline signing the mail and basically, you know that -- clear sign where it's all one text file. That's the right way to send PGP signed mail to RT. This is why people hate PGP. And then the Salsa repo on the bottom. All of the work we do is in Git, right? So every key add we do, every key removal we do, all of our scripts are all in a Git repo. You can actually watch that change set over time. There are signed commits by everyone in the team. So there is some way, you can both see what we actually do as a team and then have some verification about it. So for example, the new members site parses the Git output from that, verifies the signatures on those, and then uses that to update people's states inside the new members website whenever we add things to the keyring. I have talked for longer than I expected to. Hopefully the video team will let us have some questions. I'm happy to answer any that you've got, or try and answer anything that you've got, or not answer anything, and we can all go. That's fine too.
Just no. Take you back to endorsements and replacements or re-endorsements.
Yep.
Is it reasonable for Alice to endorse Bob's key at some point, having seen sustained, consistent use of it? And if we don't care about the name on the key, if she continues to see consistent, sustained use of that identity, is it reasonable for her to then sign it in a PGP sense and strengthen that endorsement? I don't do easy questions, sorry.
Sorry? You don't, so that come from someone else? You don't do easy questions. No, you don't. Your question reveals a problem with PGP signatures generally, right? PGP signature is very much a decision made by the person signing the key, right? And you don't know, there's no good way in PGP of knowing whether there's some degree of indication of trust level in the PGP protocol. No one really pays attention to it. So you could say this is a casual one, but it doesn't quite say that I have done sustained activity with this. I mean, in some ways, sustained activity with a key is a stronger endorsement of a key, a stronger reason to sign a key than I happened to meet this person for 5 minutes and I saw their passport via government I don't have any connection with, and I signed their key based on that and never interacted with them again. So I could see instances where, yes, the trust was enough that you might do that. If you have actually interacted with them well enough and are confident of identity and confident of sustained thing, you might. This is the problem. I would not think that was an unreasonable thing for a person to decide to do. I wouldn't suggest that everyone should do that, but I could see that based on prolonged periods of interactions with keys, you might well sign that. I have signed keys for people who I have no idea what their legal identity are. Right? There are individuals in Debian who use pseudonyms. I have never seen a piece of legal ID from them. I have interacted with them enough. I have actually met them and exchanged fingerprints in this case, but I couldn't tell you what their real name is. Sorry. I know what their real name is. I couldn't tell you what the government thinks their name is. So yeah, I think sustained interaction with the key is actually a stronger thing in some situations, so it's certainly an acceptable thing. I personally would always want to see a fingerprint from the person that they had given me. That would be my own personal line of where it would be, but the best answer, it depends. You went easy on me, thank you. You all stayed awake as well, which is good.
In that case, given that there's no more questions, I think we'll wrap it up slightly early. So thank you very much, Jonathan.